Welcome to today's video. Welcome to today's video where I'm going to break down the 5 money-making lessons that I learned from my multi-millionaire mentor, Tuan, someone who I admire deeply. Is not only worth multiple millions of dollars, probably even close to $1 billion, but some of his companies do $1 million a month regularly, even as high as $1 million in a single day. Now, I first met Tuan when I was 16. I found him through some internet archives, and I spent a lot of time learning from him directly, and just about everything that he's taught me about money and business has completely flipped me on my head. Because most people will never make $1 million a year, and an even smaller amount will do $1 million a month, let alone $1 million in one single day. And the people that do it rarely ever follow the path that others have. So today, I'm handing you those lessons for free. No fluff, no theory, just practical tips that actually work. So whether you're working hard to hit your first $50K a month, or your first 7-figure year, or your first $1 million month, these lessons will help you get there even faster. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. All that we talk about is making money with high-ticket call funnels. That's right, running ads to 5 to 25K product prices where you close on a 1 or 2 call process. Now, without further ado, let's dive in. Now, the first lesson that I learned from my mentor is that you need to spend your way through problems. This is one that shifted my mindset. You know, you have to spend your way through business problems. If you're not willing to invest, you're not willing to grow. Too many entrepreneurs hesitate to put money towards actually fixing the things that will make them even more money. See, if you've just launched a brand new call funnel or a campaign and you're in the testing phase and your ad set's giving you this big old green and still says learning, well, you need to accept that the only way for this thing to get out of learning into active is to keep spending money to give it enough data to become active. And I assure you that your cost per results are going to be maybe 2 times more expensive, or 3 times more expensive than they will be when you're in the active phase. But the only way that you get there is by continuing to invest in the system, give it data, let it reach its tipping point. And that's the same when it comes to so many other parts of the business. It could even be hiring. If you hire a new employee that's expensive, it might take them 2 to 3 months to fully understand your business to the point where you're starting to see a full ROI on what you spent bringing them in. But you have to have patience, you have to keep investing, you have to keep trusting in the process and knowing that you're going to get to that promised land. See, many people think that they can save their way to success, but it never works. High-level entrepreneurs, especially some that are friends with this guy that I got to meet in person in Vegas a couple weeks back, they will go sometimes 20, even 50K in the red, figuring out how to make something work before it swings around and starts making them a couple $100,000 a month. And they're comfortable going this far in the red because they know once they got it, the money's on the other side. There was one guy in this mastermind event that very distinctly told me that when one of my campaign crosses $10,000 in spend, 10 G's, the cost of everything begins to flatline. It becomes consistent, begins to produce day in and day out. I can scale it up, I can scale it down. I don't get bloated costs, I don't get inconsistent results, but the price to pay to get there is $10,000. If you're watching this and you can't fathom that, well, you need to focus on making some more money first. But if you're someone who can stomach it, you just need to trust and believe in your bets and run your bets a little bit further. It's like that trader on Wall Street. Do you think he's comfortable when he puts all of his money in that one trade? No, but he has to be right when other people are wrong. He has to really believe and have conviction in what he knows to be true and stay certain so that way it actually pays off. If he pulls out anytime sooner, he sometimes might go in the red before that thing pays off. And that's the same way you need to think about your business. Personal example for myself. This most recent January, I didn't spend enough money on ads. I had a new funnel, a new angle, a new offer I was trying to launch. I hadn't spent enough money. My cost per call was $560. I was freaking out because I wasn't sure how that would make this profitable. But it wasn't until I left this mastermind and realized that, hey, you just need to step up and spend your way through it, that I did. I stepped up and spent my way, and now my calls are down to $50, and I even got my first client at 15K price point, and I'm now getting a 7x return on my ad spend. Sometimes it's that simple, it's spending your way through it. But that's only possible if you know that your funnel and your process is right. If you're running a call funnel currently and are struggling to get bookings or your calls the way that you'd like to, click this video right here. It might even be in the top right corner down in the description where I explain how to fix low call bookings off of Facebook ads. But what you should do if it's your first time is you should set a realistic, what's called a risk tolerance. Know how much you're willing to bet before you're going to cut it off. You don't have to go into the red forever. But for me, I'm right around 2,500 to 3,000. If I've spent that much and haven't gotten a result back or any sizable amount of data, then I'm willing to cut it. But sometimes I'll spend that much just to figure it out. That one mindset shift alone can put you ahead of 99% of people. Now let's go into the second big money lesson that I learned from my guy Tuan. Second one is that your ultimate goal is someone's standard. And what I mean by this is that if you think that $100,000 a month is a lot of money, forever you will be a little bit away from that goal, because a goal is not something you have. A goal is something that you work towards if you're at that 10K. But if your nearest competitor thinks that $10 million a month is a lot of money, well, they're gonna blow right past your 100K milestone, because that thing is just a blip on the radar for them. They might even be maybe at $1 million a month or $2 million a month. Well, you might be down here at 10K thinking that the road ends at 100. And you see, that's just the truth of it. There are people that think in orders of magnitude and scale that you would not believe. $1 million a day, $360 million a year is what this guy is capable of doing. Now, I don't believe he does that in revenue transparently, but one of his opportunities made him 9 figures in a 3-year window. That is life-changing amounts of money. Some people think that 5 million is enough to retire, let alone 10, let alone 9. Try 100, try $100+ million. What would you do with that? But the thing is he's thinking in a size and a scale that is just so much larger, so much more abundant, that it allows him to execute and move with ease and have more comfortable taking risks that your average consumer, average entrepreneur might not, because that goal is so much smaller when put into perspective. But what's really important about this is that the money cannot come from chasing the goal. The money has to come from you loving the process of getting there. Because whether you're at 100,000 a month or $1 million a month, your problems don't go away, they stay the same. Your money only solves money problems, which brings me to the third lesson, which is you have to love the process. Now, this one is so counterintuitive from almost all of the common knowledge out there, especially things that even I believed up into more recent times. It's about the journey. Now, this is so cliche, but I'll tell you a brief story that I was told. Now, this entrepreneur friend of mine, well, even the people that were in this mastermind, there was a commonality. They all had instances where they all had highly successful businesses, all doing multiple millions a year. But they almost all had a moment where there was something that they were working towards that would allow them to maybe 2 to 10x their business, but they had to deal with just a period of just boredom, tedium, suffering, where they were just getting kicked in the face, not getting the result that they wanted, trying to figure something out. And a prime example was, this guy had started a software product. There was a tool that he wanted to launch or release. Now, he was spending maybe $500,000 a year in development costs and everything that went into keeping this thing afloat. And he had built it for around 2 years. So that's already $1 million deep that he'd put into getting this thing up and off the ground. And it wasn't until the end of the first year or the second year that he actually got approached to have the business acquired. Now, the product wasn't marketed yet. He was preparing to market it, but this acquirer had completely convinced him that they were ready to purchase this company. So they decided to lock him up under contract, and he put his efforts and energy into preparing the company for sale, still paying that $500,000 a year tab to keep this thing running. And that process, that cycle, took the better half of another 1.5 to 2 years. So that's now another $1 million deep, only for at the end of it, the company to back out and not buy the company. So now he was $2 million deep in a product that he only wanted to be $1 million in the hole that still hadn't been marketed, and he had no choice but to pull the plug. Once more, he had his stop loss and he abided by it. He needed to make money. It wasn't worth his time and effort and energy to go any further. But the silver lining on this was that same software development team that he stopped for his original project, he later reused for an opportunity that made him a couple 9 figures in a 3-year window. And it wouldn't have been possible if he hadn't spent 4 years building the software, doing the project management, everything that goes into preparing a company for sale and understanding how to work with the development team, that he would have been able to venture into this other thing. So there's a silver lining to anything, but this is truly to say that he loved the process. He loved the learning. He loved the skill insight. He loved the skill development. The money was cool, sucked that he lost it, but what he loved is knowing that he had the power and the ability to go and do something that made him even more money because he spent time enjoying the process, not the end or the destination. You see, most people quit too quickly because they're so focused on the outcome and getting the positive feedback and getting what they want from the situation. Now, that doesn't mean that you should delude yourself. You shouldn't chase things that don't work, but you need to fall in love with getting yourself to that place where you have an understanding. Another thing too is that you can't go backwards. When you make your first million and you learn how to then make $10 million in a year, you can't go backwards. You can't go back to that young and naive portion of yourself. You only get to enjoy that growth once. You only get to enjoy that experience once. Then it's no longer novel. It's like that kid that grew up really rich and just has no appreciation for money because he's been exposed to everything because there's no reason for him to. It's not novel. There's nothing for him to work towards. It takes a lot away from his character and who he could be because those aren't things that he never had to earn. Now, I also say this to say too, because unlike what common or conventional wisdom will tell you, your life and your problems can be very compartmentalized, meaning your business, your health, and your relationships can all be in different states. You could be a level 10 at business, you could be a level 5 at health and a -2 in relationships and still make a ton of money. You can also be the other way around where maybe you can't be anything less than a level 10 at business to make a lot of money. But the point being, your health and your relationships can be a mess and you can still make a lot of money when a lot of common knowledge will let you believe that if you don't have a good partner, if everything's a mess, or if you're not healthy. Now, don't get me wrong, these things do help. But there are still guys out there who are terrible with dating, dealing with divorces, heartbreak, that are terrible health-wise, eating only the worst food and smoking and consuming, and still making more money than you might be able to make in a single year because they focused and gotten good at that one thing they need to get good at, which is business. And so compartmentalize your life. Enjoy the process, enjoy your growth in each one of those domains, and don't think that it's all as interconnected as you might think. Now, I actually spoiled it, but that's the fourth lesson, which is compartmentalized, which is you need to learn how to separate your life and have different spaces and different room for different things. You need to be able to make time for your relationships. You need to be able to have space for your health. You need to be able to have space for your business. But if your health and your relationships aren't where you need to be, your business can still thrive. If your business and your health isn't where you need to be, your relationships can still thrive. If your business and your relationships suck, your health can still be good. And don't think about everything as interconnected, because all it does is put a false constraint on you. I used to believe this. I used to actually I had a warm app tracker. For those of you guys who followed Sam Ovens, I had a specialized calendar that tracked everything I did every day of the year for an entire year, and I would grade myself at the end of my month for my level of productivity and hitting and accomplishing my goals. And the thing was, I would constantly shame myself because sometimes my sleep schedule would be lower, or it'd be a little bit off and out of sync, or I wouldn't work out as much as I felt like that I should, or I wouldn't spend as much time with my family or friends as much as I would have liked to, and that would be down. And so therefore I would think that I couldn't make money. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Even now, I've had some of my largest months when I was going through some of my biggest heartbreak, but it's just because I knew how to separate my life and business from the things that I was thinking and feeling. Now, this is a really important concept, is just having this incredible discipline and what would be known as self-mastery to be able to let things be and be able to show up regardless. It's like going to the gym. You don't have to want to go. You just have to go and get it done. But prime example, one of these guys that was doing multiple 8 figures a year with his e-commerce store, probably pushing towards 9 figures, was in the process of dealing with heartbreak and being completely jaded. There was a woman that he was going out with that he just realized didn't have the character that he was looking for. And he didn't find this out until they had gone on some trip together, and then her true colors began to show, and he just had to cut things off right then and there. Now, does that suck? Absolutely. But is that going to deter him from running his business and making money? Absolutely not, because the two are completely unrelated. And it's not until you get that level of self-mastery that can really tap into levels or depth of potential that you didn't know you have. Now, let's talk about the fifth point. Now, this is one of the most important ones of them all. And I've talked about it in my other videos, and if you know what it is, comment it down below if you want to take a guess. But that is to pioneer and innovate. Following trends will allow you to succeed in the short term, but following trends should allow you to get enough of a momentum and understanding of how a business and a market works that you can eventually get to the point that you can create your own markets, as I've talked about, or stand on your own 2 feet and not need to rely on just the times working for you. The most successful entrepreneurs innovate. They don't replicate. Looking at my mentor, Tuan, one thing that I'd seen time and time again, even asking the people in this mastermind that I was a part of how it was that they knew him, it was because he had just done things others hadn't. He had figured things out others could not, and they sought him out for this advice. That was actually how I found him, was on some backdoor forum somewhere. He put up some posts around what was working and offered some clarity to things that just I had no conception of. But it was clear that he was playing the game at a level that just nobody else was. He understood all the technology, he understood the players, how everything connected together. Now, Tuan is not someone that comes with a college degree or a special particular background. He comes from actually very hard and difficult upbringings. So it just goes to show that if you're truly obsessed and figure it out better than anybody else, you can get results like nobody else has. Another example is in my business, where I do sales consulting. I help companies set up and establish high-ticket call funnels where we sell products at $5 to $25K in a 2-call close function. I also show the salespeople who have been a part of those call funnels how to go out and show other companies or partner with businesses to do that the same way that I do and make money. But when I was creating my educational arm, or even starting the consulting, no longer being that high-ticket closer, there was nobody else there showing me how to do it. I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have a path or a guidance or place that I was walking down. I had to figure a lot of it out myself. Now, I had the insights and inspiration and perspective from other courses and programs, but there was nobody teaching it the way that I had. Now, when I launched, that was something that I took a lot of pride in, was just the quality of my product. And even now, we've got to boil it down to the exact 36 actions you need to take to be able to get a client proven across our 80 plus customers, more than 20 of which have been able to go out there and land consulting clients. Some of them have made even upwards of $30,000 a month doing the sales consulting. So it goes to show that this is entirely possible. Some of them have made upwards of $30,000 a month using the information that I've been able to apply. But the key is, and why people still come to me, is that other people had not figured it out or painted a path the way that I had. And it's the clarity that I bring from just my sheer obsession over the topic over the course of 2 years that has allowed me to master it. So if you want to stay ahead, you just need to be obsessed with the thing more than anybody else is. You need to be willing to experiment where others hesitate, because innovation is truly what sets you apart. Now, these 5 lessons have fundamentally changed how I think about business. The best entrepreneurs think differently, act boldly, and persist despite any setbacks. And by applying these insights, I've not only accelerated my own growth, but I've seen the growth of others accelerate too, because they had the belief and the trust to follow the steps of someone who'd already been there before them. So if you got value from this video, like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss an upload. And I'm curious, which one of these points hit hardest for you? Comment it down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one.